The advantage of having a tunnel is enjoying vegetables early. In the month of July, you will start consuming tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, cucumbers, melons, and many other fruit vegetables. But be careful, in the month of July, it's a time when there can be big storms. You need to keep a close watch on it, and especially on the anchors. But before entering the tunnel, many of you asked me in June what variety of wicker was used to safeguard and protect this tunnel, both for its visual aspect and to fight against the powerful and blustery winds. Well, it's the cliff yellow willow wicker. All right, now we're going to go inside this tunnel. But before we enter the tunnel, I'd like to demonstrate to you a little trick to prevent unwanted seeds from getting inside, just a little bit. Here, there is a stream of grass. Be aware that the unwanted weeds at the base of the tunnel, like dandelions for example, I love dandelions, but not at the entrance of my tunnel because the flowers and seeds will get inside. I assure you that a dandelion growing under a tunnel is very difficult to get rid of. So here is the best herbicide. Thanks to definitely growing onions, shallots and garlic, I was able to advance my harvest by at least a month, and it must be acknowledged that they are also under the tunnel. So now, instead of onions, garlic and shallots, I will plant a new batch of zucchinis in July to have a much later harvest. Mulching is used in a vegetable garden, and it's true, it's very beneficial. It helps retain moisture and prevents the soil from heating up when it's very hot. Know that this tunnel is mulched once a year in the month of July. Then this mulching will be incorporated into the soil to provide humus and organic matter, such as it's great to have tomatoes very early in the season, to have tomatoes starting in June, but it's also very good to have them much later. So you will notice under this tunnel there are tomatoes at different stages. Some are over 2 meters tall, this variety of cherry tomatoes, and there are some tomatoes a bit shorter, measuring 1 meter, and other tomato plants that are a few centimeters tall. And then there's a trick. If you want to enjoy tomatoes even later and you don't have any plants, well, you just need to take a cutting, detach a branch, a sucker from a tomato plant, plant it directly in the ground, remove the 2 bottom leaves, give it a good watering, and you can hope to have tomatoes in September. Once your tomato plant reaches about approximately 2 meters or so in height, or even a bit more when it almost touches the ceiling, a simple trick is to cut the top to stop it from growing. And by preventing it from growing, other suckers will come back on the stem, whereas until now we removed the suckers as they appeared, which will allow for another fruiting on the lateral branches. And it will especially allow you to have a well-compact tomato plant with always green leaves. Remember in June I showed you my vine with beautiful clusters. Clusters are still there, but there was an attack of powdery mildew, and I had mentioned spraying water quite frequently on the leaves and foliage to precisely avoid the attack of the fungus. Because powdery mildew occurs when there's a large temperature difference between day and night. This occurs in a tunnel and always in a dry environment, contrary to common belief. Even then, the powdery mildew continued to spread, so I quite definitely had to spray a horsetail decoction, and thus apparently the powdery mildew is now stopped, but I will repeat this treatment in a week. The advantage of a vine under a pergola is to have grape clusters early and provide shade for plants. The number one enemy under a tunnel is the sun. When it gets too hot, it burns the plants. Above 35 degrees, flowers aren't fertilized. We need shade. We will have shade. The vine is practical as it grows leaves during summer, and the leaves will fall. There's a question you've asked yourself: if we need to change the tarps, how do we do it? It's very simple. You prune the vine, the shoots during the winter. You do this during the winter. You lay them on the ground and reattach your vine shoots. So I showed you in a previous video in the month of June the benefit of the strings, the wires to hang the cucumbers. Well, the cucumbers that will climb thanks to their tendrils on this wire. Well, here is the result. So here we already have a nice cucumber, and it's also true for melons. So the first melons often form at the base, and as it grows, we often leave only one stem, which will allow the melons to be at a higher level, making them much easier to pick. Another advantage is that we will have clean melons or clean cucumbers. hence the interest in growing plants under a tunnel. If you grow strawberries under your tunnel, especially ever-bearing varieties, these strawberries will produce in the spring and several times throughout the year, until the end of the season, in October or September, since they are sheltered under the tunnel. But you must especially water them well so they can first grow larger, produce a multitude of flowers, and have strawberries that are big and sweet. Another advantage of watering them is that it will also allow you to get new runners and multiply your strawberry plants, both under the tunnel and outside. If you have a drip irrigation system, such as an automatic watering system, that's great. It will help you save a lot of water. However, the automatic drip irrigation waters at the base of the tomato plant here, since we are talking about tomatoes occasionally. It is good to water at the base, meaning you should generously and thoroughly water with a hose or a watering can around the base of the tomato plant so that its roots go down 30 or 40 centimeters in order to grow properly. It will be much more resilient, it will be much stronger. If you are very lucky enough to have a greenhouse or a tunnel to get incredibly beautiful vegetables all year round, the secret to warmth in the spring, coolness in the summer, and warmth again in the fall. I will indeed meet you in September to take stock of the situation under this tunnel.